I wonder what was going on through Shannon Sharpe's mind when Cat Williams told him those type of women could get you taken down in 2 weekends.
After settling the lawsuit with that girl that filed these allegations against him, Shannon Sharpe just got fired from ESPN.
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN.
The OnlyFans girl that Shannon Sharpe was messing with settled for $23 million.
The headlines hit like a blitz, a settlement in a high-profile case, and days later, ESPN cut ties with Shannon Sharpe, right as his brother Sterling was stepping into Canton. One door closed while another historic one opened. The timing wasn't just bad, it rewrote the week's narrative. And behind the noise, a tougher question lingered. What really happened, and what happens next? Back in late April, a Nevada civil complaint landed with specific, serious claims. The woman, identified as Jane Doe, described non-consensual encounters and volatile behavior during what she called an on-again, off-again relationship. Sharpe's response was immediate and absolute. He denied everything. Within days, he announced he was stepping away from ESPN duties to focus on his family and the legal fight. For a network that runs on credibility and routine, the absence was noticeable and deliberate. But that wasn't the whole story. When a public figure steps off camera, the vacuum fills with guesswork. ESPN's public stance was measured, acknowledging the seriousness, supporting the temporary step back. Privately, the calculus at any network is brutal. Risk versus brand. Whether he'd return for training camp season became a question with no clear answer. Viewers waited. Commentators speculated. The clock ticked into the summer. And then, the first real shift arrived.
This is why you shouldn't feel bad for Shannon Sharpe. This dude Shannon Sharpe told his daughter that she had a max budget of $30,000 for her wedding, but was out here paying for freak time with an OF model. This dude Shannon Sharpe literally retired an OF model. And it's so obvious that this was her plan from the beginning. Step 1. Get into a BDSM relationship with Shannon Sharpe. Step 2. Record all the evidence of Shannon Sharpe playing into this BDSM relationship. So over the course of however long they were doing this BDSM bullshit, she gathered all the evidence and then used it against him. Even Shannon knew he was cooked. There's a reason why he tried to offer her $10 million to keep quiet instead of going to court. He is damn near 60 years old as a black man about to go to court with a 20-year-old that has a mountain of evidence on him because he was participating in a bullshit ass BDSM relationship. I'm surprised she didn't get the full $50 million. Arguably the funniest part about this situation is that Shannon would always try and lil bro Ocho Cinco by saying, oh, he's not professional enough to make it on ESPN. Whole time Shannon let his freakiness get himself fired from one of the cushiest jobs in the world. Say Lakers in 5 and then get paid $100 million.
Late July, the case settled. No trial, no testimony. The accuser's attorney characterized the relationship as consensual but tumultuous and confirmed the matter was resolved. Here's what we do know. The case closed. Here's what we don't know. The money. Major outlets didn't confirm a figure. Some international reports floated a number, but with no corroboration from primary sources, that remains unconfirmed. In a storm like this, clarity matters, and official documents didn't speak to the amount. But the settlement didn't quiet the story.
And that's on him because as a 50-something-year-old man, you worked your ass off to get yourself to that position where you were about to get a $50 million contract. But you allow your sexual desires to ruin that for you. Because someone your age messing with a 19, 20-year-old girl made no sense. The same way how we tell women to not date men just for money, because sometimes those men that have the money have shitty character. Is the same way we should tell men that have money that you should not just date a woman just for her looks. Because sometimes those women that look good have shitty character. On top of losing that $50 million contract, I'm sure his Nightcap show on YouTube is probably going to take a big hit as well. Because if you think about it, a lot of sponsors are not going to want to work with him, even though he settled the case. Moral of the story, men, when you become extremely successful, find ways to control your sexual desires, because that'll be your biggest downfall sometime.
It accelerated it. Within days, ESPN severed ties. On paper, it's a personnel decision. In reality, it's a message. The optics and obligations of a global sports brand leave little margin for ambiguity. Even if a case ends, the headlines live on. Multiple outlets confirmed the split, None pretended the timing was coincidence. For viewers who watched Sharpe's run on First Take, it was a jolt. For rivals, a seismic opening. Then Sharpe finally spoke. On Nightcap.
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week. The only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted it to be about him. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow. They saw me, Lakers in 5, and I just wish this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first two brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is what the headline's going to be for the next couple of days. So
he let the audience in. He said he'd known earlier in the week and asked if the news could wait until after Sterling's Hall of Fame weekend. It didn't. He apologized to his brother for overshadowing the moment and said he was at peace with the decision. It wasn't a rant. It was controlled, even weary, like someone who understands that in media, timing can be the story. But the court of public opinion had already convened. The reaction was split and loud. Some posted that this was the predictable cost of personal choices colliding with public platforms. Others pulled clips from older Club Shay interviews, pointing to warnings about relationships and discretion.
When Cat Williams told him he had an unhealthy allegiance to losers, we did not know that he would make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's really, truly unbelievable. The fact that Shannon Sharpe is 6'1", 6'2", 220 pounds, and was a lineman and all this, and it took a 23-year-old white woman, it took some 23-year-old white coach to take him out. Girl, you can't make it up. You really just cannot make it up. This is why when I say lust will literally ruin your legacy, lust will really ruin your life. This man was talking about how he's not giving his daughter money. I don't care, this and the third, him and his big bell pepper nose and all this cooling for them people. Not only did he pay that lady off, they also said, wait a minute, buddy, you can go ahead and log out for me. This is exactly what he get. Everybody like, oh, don't kick him while he's down, nigga. It's boots on the ground season. Did y'all not forget?
Using them as a mirror for how things turned out. That's the internet. It doesn't just discuss. It collages moments into a new meaning. The accuracy of those collages is variable, but the momentum, very real. And brands watch momentum more closely than anything. Meanwhile, the weekend in Canton reshaped the narrative again. Away from the uproar, Sterling Sharpe walked into football immortality. With that, the Sharpe brothers became the first siblings ever to share the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's a story 30 years in the making. Triumph delayed, not denied. For Shannon, the week that took away a chair also secured a chapter of family history that can't be undone. The contrast is stark. One career window closing, another legacy door wide open forever. But legacy alone doesn't pay the bills in modern media. So what now? Club Shay isn't going anywhere. Nightcap still draws an audience. Reports say potential megadeals were once in the air, and now any big contract has to fight through fog. Even the replacement chatter kicked up, names floated, allies nudging for the seat across from Stephen A. Smith.
So this is crazy stats. So the OnlyFans girl that Shannon Sharpe was messing with settled for $23 million. Now, mind you, they were only dating for a few months. And Shannon Sharpe played for 14 years in the NFL and put his body through a tremendous amount of stress and the potential brain damage that he probably received from the stress from playing in football. And he received $22 million, but this girl received $23 million settlement. That's a big enough stat where every athlete should be celibate. You guys should just be celibate till y'all get married, or you guys haven't signed the prenups and then get married. You guys, that's a big enough stat to be celibate, because that is crazy.
Viewers never see the spreadsheets, but they feel the effects. Guest lineups shift, sponsors pause, producers rethink formats. In television, confidence is currency. Rebuilding it takes time, and consistent wins. Underneath the business, a simpler question remains. We know a lawsuit was filed. We know it's settled. We know ESPN cut ties days later. We know Sharpe denied the claims and said his piece. We know Sterling's induction is historic. We don't know the settlement amount from primary sources. We don't know the long-term shape of Sharpe's media career. And we don't know if public sentiment will cool enough to open the biggest doors again. That uncertainty is the real antagonist of this story, which makes the next move crucial. There's a way forward, but it's narrow. In this era, audiences reward clarity, accountability, and consistent value. If Sharpe keeps his show sharp, interviews that push, analysis that lands, a tone that reads as grounded rather than defiant, he can rebuild enough equity to matter on the biggest stages again. The hardest part? Accepting that winning the next day is more important than relitigating the last one. That's a mindset shift, not a press release. Because in modern media, your work becomes your rebuttal. When the dust settles, this week will be remembered for two things: a public exit and a family milestone. One is a headline, the other is history. And history lasts longer. Whether Shannon Sharpe's broadcasting legacy ends here or just changes shape will depend on something simple and difficult: what he does the next 100 days, on camera, off camera, and away from the spotlight. The story isn't over. It's just moved to a different field.